All right, welcome back to The Hill. In the hours leading up to former President Trump's historic arraignment, his legal team had to scramble to find another lawyer to help his defense. Chris Kise, a notable Florida attorney in Republican circles, one time that state's Solicitor General, is now defending the president. He joins Todd Blanche to help with Trump's defense. Joining us now to break down the legal ramifications of this federal case is Dave Aronberg. He's the state attorney for Palm Beach County and a member of the member of the Florida Senate, a Democrat. Dave, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. At one point in time, Kise was on the case for Donald Trump way back when. Then he was off it. Now he's back on it. What do you make of that?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me back. I used to be a member of the Florida Senate. Now this is a full-time role.
Thanks for clarifying. Yep.
Yeah, no problem. Let me tell you, I know Chris Kise, and he's very well respected. He's all that, and he should be taking a prominent role. The problem is that he was sidelined because Trump didn't like his advice. According to reports, Kise wanted Trump to be more conciliatory with the Department of Justice, and Trump wanted to be more confrontational. And apparently Kise doesn't get along with Boris Epshteyn, but I mean, that's true for a lot of folks there. And because of those personality conflicts, he wasn't going to be at the arraignment until they couldn't find anyone else who was part of the Southern District of Florida. So he was there today, and hopefully for Trump's sake, he stays on the case. He's a damn good lawyer.
Interesting to hear you say that. How solid do you think the case is against Donald Trump?
I think it's really strong. I think the evidence that debunks his best defense, that he declassified the documents, is pretty damning when you have a recording of Trump himself saying, yeah, I can't show you this because I didn't declassify it. I could have done that when I was president. And so it shows that he knew he shouldn't have the documents. He knew he shouldn't show it to people. And he knew they were not declassified. And that's bad for him. And, you know, they didn't charge him with the documents that he gave back. I thought that's telling. That shows you the difference between this and the situation with Biden and Pence. But here's
the case that Republicans are making. I want you to take a listen to this. I'll get your reaction on the other side.
I don't know, is it a good picture to have boxes in a garage that opens up all the time? A bathroom door locked.
I think it's an egregious political weaponization of justice or injustice against a political opponent.
He did not commit espionage. He did not disseminate, leak, or provide information to a foreign power or to a news organization to damage this country. He is not a spy.
You would say what?
He's not a spy. I thought Lindsey Graham was a lawyer. He should know better. The espionage statute doesn't require you to be a spy. The espionage statute says you can't have the willful retention of documents. That's what Trump apparently did. The espionage statute says you can't show this stuff to others. That's what Trump apparently did. So I don't know what statute Lindsey Graham is reading. And as far as the weaponization of the DOJ, look, the facts show otherwise. You know, the Durham report was released under this DOJ. They didn't try to stop him. That was to show the origins of the Russia probe. They still are investigating Hunter Biden within this Department of Justice. If they were a politicized DOJ, they would have put the kibosh on that. They dropped the case against Matt Gaetz. They took Trump's side against E. Jean Carroll. And this wasn't Jack Smith making the decision to indict. He went to Florida, a red state, Trump's home state, to get a grand jury to indict. So if you say it's political, I think it's just not playing in good faith.
Hey, Dave, it's Johanna Maska, and we've been sitting up here talking about the current valet, the president's valet, Walt Nauta, who also has been charged. And all of us, the three of us, have worked with White House valets, and I feel sorry for this guy because he is, by virtue of his job, he's, you know, doing the president's bidding, and he's a former military guy. You know, he got in this situation, and clearly it wasn't of his own making, and now he's in this situation, and he appeared with the president today. What do you make of this, and when is it going to be that he gets the smart advice that he needs to have his own attorney working on this? Because I fear Donald Trump is just going to say he packed it all up, he was the one who was responsible.
Yeah, Donald Trump's paying for his lawyer, and so there could be some sort of conflict there. It's not unethical or improper, but he may need to get his own lawyer. I think the Department of Justice clearly wants him to flip. The reason why he's brought into this is not because he helped Donald Trump move the boxes. It's because he lied about it. He lied to investigators. And that's one thing that prosecutors and investigators hate, is when you lie to them. He said, I don't know about moving of boxes. I didn't do it. and then they saw him on video. If he had just unwittingly moved the stuff around at Donald Trump's direction, he wouldn't be charged. But that's not what happened here.
All right, Dave Aronberg. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.